Right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our final Small Business Resilience Workshop of 2024. This is a new chamber initiative, which we started this year as a component from our Small Business Series, which includes an additional two other trainings and one in-person event that provides resources that empower businesses to thrive and a platform to promote business-friendly legislation. So stay tuned for the 2025 dates and events. I'll be sharing them earlier next year. These particular workshops are offered twice a year and will typically feature local, state, and federal experts who will provide insights and guidance on a variety of topics aimed at enhancing the resilience and success of small businesses. Just a few housekeeping instructions. Our guest speakers will be able to answer a short amount of questions at the end of their presentation. So please make sure to submit questions or comments on the platforms that you live chat, but whichever one you're using. We'll read them and make sure our speakers address them. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first guest. Stephanie Garcia serves as the Southern California Local Engagement Specialist for the state's Office of Small Business Advocate, or Cal OSBA for short. The agency supports economic growth by providing resources and support to the state's 4.1 million small businesses, including nonprofits and startups. We're thrilled to have her today with us. And to start off the agenda, she will be informing us about recent developments across the state for small businesses and resources available to help our community thrive. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for being here today, and please take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jimena, for having me. Once again, my name is Stephanie Garcia. I'm the Local Engagement Specialist for the California Office of Small Business Advocate. I've been with the state for about 6 months now. And prior to this role, I was a marketing business advisor over at the San Diego and Imperial Valley Women Business Center. And I'm also a small business owner like yourself. So I'm really excited to be here and really be able to support you in whatever way I can. So a little bit about what we do here at Cal OSBA. Our mission is to really support California's dreamers to start, scale, and succeed as small business owners, employers, and drivers of our economy. Next slide. One more. The 5 things that we do, 5 aspects of our office is really to administer the governor's direct grant relief by supporting small businesses, fund and oversee the network of small business support centers like the Small Business Development Centers, the Women Business Centers, Apex Accelerators, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on those later. Increase the pipeline of loans to our smallest and most vulnerable small businesses, advance the resiliency of our small business through disaster awareness and preparation, and lastly, represent and elevate the voices of California small business owners like yourselves. Next slide. Our vision is simple. It's really to democratize access to capital. Next slide. Drive economic mobility through entrepreneurship and diversify the innovation economy. And I'll go a little bit into details in a second about our vision and how we plan on approaching it. Who do we really serve? Again, we serve individuals like yourself, California's entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs, small business owners, our partners like the SBD centers, our iHubs, our CDFIs, which are the Community Development Financial Institutions, our Chamber of Commerce, and then also our community and stakeholders. Next slide. So just a little bit about California. As it was mentioned earlier, we do serve the 4.1 small businesses here in the state. For those that don't know, we are the fifth largest economy in the world. And that's really important as a small business owner, because that means that there's a lot of businesses that are starting in California, but that means that there's also a lot of individuals that are seeking for those type of services here in the state of California. So what do we do with here at Cal OSBA? One of our biggest programs, our largest program, is our SCALE network, Success, Capital Access, Leadership for Entrepreneurship. This is the program where we're really focusing on making sure that our small business community is able to connect with business support. So if you're ever wake up wondering, like, I need an accountant or I need support with marketing, they're talking a lot about procurement and government contracts. Where do I go? Or if you're looking for investors, or if you want to ensure you have the right permits or licenses, through our Scale Network, we'll be able to connect you with trusted advisors that are ready to support you to fulfill your dream. This is at no cost. It's one-on-one advising and a pathways to funding. These are vetted advisors, so please rest assured that your conversations with them are in private, and they're there to support you. Through our Scale Network, our partners also provide low-cost trainings for every aspect of your businesses. And then again, really, we want to just ensure that our small business community is aware that you're not alone, that the state is here to support you. Next slide. So our advisors are ready to help you throughout the 150 centers we have across the state. Whether you're in San Diego or you're up north or in the Bay Area, you will find a small business development center or one of our partners that are ready to support you. We have advisors that speak multiple languages, and also we provide specialized support through our veteran services, our women's services, government contracting, and more. And that is really done through our small business development centers that we have here in San Diego, our women business centers, Apex accelerators. We have veterans business outreach centers that focus on veterans, and then access to new market and procurement opportunity with the Apex accelerators, plus dozens of other small business, nonprofit business and support organizations that are here to support you with your business growth. And what does that really look like? So, for example, if you look at the slide here, 2 out of 3 of small business owners report that they will seek capital over the next 12 months. And that's really important because with our small business development centers and our women business centers, we advise that before you seek a bank or a CDFI, that you work diligently with your advisor so they can support you and put together your loan application. Because this way, they're the experts in this, and so they'll be able to ensure that you have all your documents correctly. They'll let you know what you need to work on, if there's anything that you would need to improve on in regards to your business, so you could become a better qualifier for a loan. And so really what that entails is you connect with your business advisor. They'll work with you on filling out all the requirements that you need to be loan ready. They'll refer you to a loan officer that will review your application. And then from there, they'll ask questions. They'll go back and forth. Again, these loan officers look at your application holistically. And then from there, the goal is to really secure that funding for you. And so that's really essentially how our businesses are able to utilize our Scale Network. Additionally, last month, the U.S. Treasury approved our application of a $10 million more in funding to expand our Scale Network even further. And this is through our Pinnacle program, Procurement and Innovation Capital Leadership for Entrepreneurs. This will allow us to target services to businesses looking for what we're calling mature capital and address 2 major market opportunities where California is uniquely positioned. The first one is state procurement contracts. I know there's a lot of work that's being done out there with procurement, with the up and coming sporting events that are occurring in LA County that will eventually affect us here in San Diego County, where there'll be opportunities for you all. And then also additionally, with the $180 billion investment of Governor Newsom in infrastructure, this is really where this Pinnacle and this program will be utilized. And it's mostly especially for as I mentioned, the infrastructure construction in which the governor has made a holistic investment in for our state. And then second, high growth, high wage innovation sectors where California leads the nation's growth. One aspect of the program will target business competing for state contracts and assist them with obtaining the bonding, insurance, and loan capital needed to secure contracts with local, state, and federal jurisdictions, as well as with private entities. Pretty much, Pinnacle is an extension of the Scale program, designed to further empower small businesses by providing targeted support for procurement opportunities and specialized capital. Our office is really committed to this program, and so we'll be providing an additional 5,000 business owners with one-on-one counseling and training. And our office anticipates developing at least 200 training events and supporting eligible beneficiaries to obtain a capital infusion of 250 million in total capital through a combination of non-diluted capital, bonding capital, debt capital, and as well as angel and venture capital. So stay tuned to learn more about our Pinnacle program in the next couple months. Next slide. So in addition to our scale network and our Pinnacle programs, we have additional resources. So one that I want to talk about is our Accelerate California. This one really focuses on more of the innovation community. This is really to diversify the innovation economy. There's 13 innovation hubs here in the state of California. And we're actually the first state to invest directly in the success of diverse owned innovation business. So if you're an innovative company or business or startup, please reach out to one of our local iHubs here in the state of California. Really what these iHubs are about is they're a small incubator built on these 5 pillars, providing you technical support, giving you access to capital, subject matter experts and industry expertise access, where you'll be working directly with advisors that have experience in your field of innovation, resource provided networks, and physical space. So each iHub will be leveraging a physical space within the region to spur collaboration and communication between you, the entrepreneur. Our next program is our Made in California. So if you're a manufacturer and you are 100% manufacturing out of California, you could partner with CMTC, who is one of our who is running this program for us. And this is where you'll be able to get that stamp or that logo that says that your products are proudly made in the state of California. We've learned that small businesses, that 60% of Americans will pay more for locally made products. So this is a really big incentive for those that manufacture here in California. Another program that we have is our California Rise. This is really a program that focuses on social enterprises here across the state of California. So this is a grant. So if you're a social enterprise that's really working on employing, training, and supporting talented Californians overcoming barriers to employment, we definitely encourage you to keep an eye out for our next round for the California Rise grant. We just this year it was our first round, so we're looking to see how successful that is, and so stay tuned for that. And again, this is really to drive economic mobility through entrepreneurship. The next one is our Outsmart Disaster, and this is really to assist you with creating that resiliency plan for your business in case of any disasters. As you all witnessed earlier this year in January, we had the floods in San Diego. So if you were a business that was highly impacted by that, again, we definitely encourage you to put a plan together, utilizing our Outsmart Disaster resources. Our resiliency trainers put together a presentation once a month in English and Spanish. And there's also a PDF that you'll be receiving, a booklet where you'll be able to create your resiliency plan and then also ensure that you have all the documents necessary in case of any emergencies. So now talking a little bit about what's coming or what's available, what we've had here with the legislator is really equity and procurements, AB 2019. So this particular piece of legislature passed in 2022, and it's really focusing on the 25% of all state contracts must be awarded to small businesses. And so this is how the way that this will work is that we recommend that you work with one of our Scale Network partners to assist you with the certification process. Again, each California agency has a small business liaison that can support you and assist you with compliance and questions you may have of an upcoming project. So definitely encourage you to seek out assistance either through our office, so we could connect you with the liaison, or also contacting the Department of General Services, and they'll be able to assist you as well. This particular piece is really about Equity First Action Plan. As I mentioned earlier, there's a historical investment of 180 billion in infrastructure, and so that's why this particular piece of legislation was put into play. And really it's to support the women, diverse, and LGBTQ owned businesses to be to be purposefully engaged so they can benefit from AB 2019. And then our additional pieces are Performing Arts Equitable Payroll Fund, SB 1116, excuse me. And this is really a reimbursement payroll for eligible nonprofits. We're encouraging them to convert contract labor to W-2. So if you are a nonprofit in the arts, please, I encourage you to keep an eye out for this particular RFP that's coming down the pipeline. And again, this is really to drive economic mobility through entrepreneurship. And then lastly, really how to connect with us. I definitely encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter where you'll be able to read success stories. You may be chosen to be featured through our success as in our newsletters. Also get any program updates, as I mentioned earlier, like our CA Rise, our Scale Network, our Pinnacle program. You'll be able to read the director's column from the Advocate, and then also get some tips on resiliency through our Outsmart disaster program. And then lastly, there is a team in Southern California. If you are interested in learning more about what our office does, or you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm available via email, via text. I also do speak Spanish. So again, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you again for giving me your time. And then feel free to follow us on our social media platforms, and we'll be here to support you in whatever way we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. This was very insightful, and I'll make sure to share the presentation if you allow with those that are interested. Just a quick question to have a sort of better idea of how Cal SBA is present in our region. How often and how does the relationship look with local governments? I know that you are located here in Southern California. However, I don't know if there's like additional programs or any initiatives in the past that local jurisdictions have played a part in.
Yes, so I am local here in San Diego, so I am home based, and the way that Cal SBA is connected is through all the different events that are put together through our network partners, like the Small Business Development Center. Last month they had their Small Business Expo was the third one. They put one, I believe they put about 3 or 4 throughout the year, and all the different smaller SBD centers, like for example, the North County SBD Center is having one tomorrow. It's another networking opportunity over in Oceanside at the library. And it's really about connecting our small business community with those network partners. So the Women Business Center last Friday had their breakfast along with the SBA, and so that's one of the ways that we're able to connect locally with the small business community and the constituents. It's really providing them access to those resources, since those centers do get funded by both the SBA and Cal OSBA. And that's the best way that we could support them. So if you do have any questions and you reach out to our office, we'll be able to connect you with a small business development center within your zip code if that's close by, or an innovation hub, depending again on what your business needs are, or if you're looking for access to capital, again, connecting you with that trusted advisor to support you. And then also, whenever there are events, they invite myself or someone from the state. So there are times where our director will come out and speak, our deputy director, or even our regional advisors will be out here speaking to the community and really getting to know everyone in that way.
All right, that's awesome, Stephanie. Thank you so much, and for the work that you do and what the office does as well for our regional businesses. So we'll be in touch. This is definitely not a goodbye, but thank you again for sharing all these insights, all these resources, and we'll stay connected. All right, up to our next speaker. We wanted to include an update on San Diego County's Fair Chance Ordinance and resources for employers. If you might remember, at our last Small Business Resilience Workshop, we were presented on the developments of a local fair chance ordinance that would further restrict the use of criminal history in employment decisions. So A few months ago, this ordinance was passed and has been made effective since October 10th, I believe, requiring employers that have 5 or more employees and are located in unincorporated areas of San Diego County must comply. And the county's Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement, OLC for short, will be enforcing this ordinance, but will not be issuing fines against violations until July 1st, 2025. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mikey, later in a bit. But here with us today, we have Michael Knob, the office's business outreach coordinator, who will be giving us an update on the issue and resources available to help businesses comply. So, Michael, I know you have very useful information to share.
Sure,
so
happy to. Thanks, Jimena. Hi, everyone. My name is Mikey Knob, he, him pronouns. I'm the business outreach manager at the Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement for the County of San Diego. And I think Jimena's got my slides, so I'll just wait a second until we get the first one up here.
Right. They should be up.
Okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. So that's our office. You can go to the next one. All right, so in May of 2021, the county board created our office, the Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement, in response to community advocates basically requesting that the county work a little harder to make sure that workers are protected here. So you can go to the next slide. I'm going to move pretty quickly through the history and the general broad strokes of the office, because I know we really want to talk about the Fair Chance Ordinance today, but our office's vision and our mission is on this slide. Our mission is to advance labor standards through community and business engagement, strategic enforcement, innovation, research, policy development, and a commitment to workplace justice. You can see the list of our values there. And our vision is to create and foster, oh, sorry, go back one more time. Our vision is to create and foster a culture of labor standards compliance in San Diego County that protects the safety of workers and supports employers. I just wanted to make sure I said that part. We strive for a community without wage theft and workplace harassment. For a little bit of just context here, I'm a former restaurant owner myself, so the reason my role exists in this office is to make sure that business owners who are trying to do everything right are not put at a competitive disadvantage when they're competing with folks who are not complying with labor standards. So we can go to the next slide. So my role here is really to ensure that I educate and do participatory outreach with the business community so that the rest of the office, who works mostly on enforcement, can focus on that while I focus on understanding businesses' needs and sharing with the business community in plain language how to comply with the law and compete fairly with each other. And of course, our office also works on policy development. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, wage theft is the term of the year or the decade, kind of. Wage theft, for those unfamiliar with the term, essentially just means a worker is not paid the wages that they're owed. So the most common ways you can see listed on the left there: minimum wage violations, overtime violations, meal and rest breaks being missed, misclassifications of independent contractors versus employees, or final paycheck timely payments. You can see the impact of wage theft here. So in San Diego County, this is just based on data from the last 6 years, 2017 through 2023, from the State Labor Commissioner's Office. So just in San Diego County, over 1,150 unpaid, unsatisfied judgments equaling almost $16 million. And what that means is that those judgments, those are from workers who went through the entire years-long process of filing a claim with the Labor Commissioner's Office, won their judgment, and are unable to collect on it. So they did everything right. They spent all this time and resources trying to get to the judgment, finally did, and are unpaid. So in that original slide where I said in response to advocates saying that they needed more consistent enforcement in San Diego County, this is the problem they're addressing, trying to address. So, and you can see there are larger numbers just in the state, of course, and you can see that on that right column there, there's specific information about the construction industry. That's just one of many, as you all know, but it does have quite a few of these unpaid judgments in San Diego. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is the California State Fair Chance Act. We'll talk about that first because the San Diego County Fair Chance Ordinance is built on top of that. It's sort of to strengthen the protections here in San Diego County. What these laws are colloquially called is Band of Box law. Effectively, it's those applications or you would see on job listings where it would say, check this box if you have ever been convicted of a felony or a crime, or it could also say applicants with criminal history need not apply. Well, that's illegal now in the state as of 2018. And the purpose of the law is to reduce barriers to employment for individuals with convicted histories, or you may hear folks referred to as justice involved. It generally prohibits employers from asking questions about conviction history on job applications. You can't ask or consider a job applicant's criminal history before you make a conditional job offer. And you can't state, as I said, on the application that criminal history will automatically disqualify an applicant. So essentially, the real important part here in that second dot point is that it's before a conditional job offer. And we'll unpack that a little as I go on. So we can move to the next slide, please. So this is the hiring process under the State Fair Chance Act. So you see the 8 steps. 1 is the application, 2 is the interview, 3 is the conditional offer. You'll notice nothing in those first 3 steps says anything about criminal history. So then you go to number 4, after the conditional job offer. That's when you can conduct a background check. Then you would perform what's called an individualized assessment, meaning you assess the individual's criminal history or conviction history against the role that's being hired, that they may be hired to fill. If you decide, if you being the employer decide to that the conviction history is too relevant or too connected to the role being offered, you may rescind the conditional offer. And then there's a point at which, again, I'll unpack this a little in later slides, but you would do a reassessment based on any evidence they give you of mitigating circumstances, or perhaps they may say that the background check has inaccuracies. And then you would give the final notification, whether that be this conditional job offer is permanently rescinded, meaning revoked, or based on the evidence you've given us, we've decided we are comfortable now making this conditional job offer a final job offer, and you can come work with us. We can go to the next slide, please. Here's more on the conditional job offer. So what exactly does that mean? What you can see here is some examples. So the question, have you ever been convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony? An applicant or a candidate for a job can say no if they've never been convicted, if the misdemeanor or felony was sealed, dismissed, expunged, or reversed on appeal, or if the candidate withdrew a plea after completing a court program and was not convicted of a misdemeanor or felony. So we can go to the next slide. This is the kinds of background checks that there are for employment, that exist for employment. For the purposes of this presentation, I think the second point here is it will be the most common, a criminal background check. But you can see that there are many different types. We can go to the next slide. More on the rescinding of a job offer. So can an employer take it back once they've seen the background check? And the answer is yes, but they do have to conduct this individualized assessment. And I've bolded the terms here that make it easy for me to remember. Hopefully, maybe that's helpful for others, which is just nature, time, nature. And what that is the nature of and the gravity of the conviction on the background check. Then the time, the amount of time that's passed since the conviction. And then the second time we say nature is the nature of the job that the applicant is seeking. So the last point here that I've got on this slide, you can't just say that you're not going to hire anyone with any conviction history. It's illegal to say anybody that's ever been convicted of any crime is therefore not trustworthy in our estimation to work with us. So that is built into the law. That's California state law. And we can move to the next slide, please. What rights do workers have if the employer takes back the job offer? So employers have to notify the candidate in writing. They have to identify the disqualifying conviction, meaning you see the background check, it comes back that there is a conviction history. In the written recension of the job offer, the employer must state which conviction, if there are multiple, is of concern. They also must provide a copy of the criminal history report, and they have to give the candidate at least 5 business days, meaning don't count Saturdays, Sundays, or national holidays, to respond to this notification. They have to tell applicants that their response may include evidence that challenges the accuracy of the conviction history, If they do, if the applicant would like to challenge the accuracy, meaning, like my name's Mikey Nab, but maybe someone does a criminal history check for Michael Nab, and I say, wait a second, that's actually not me. That means I'm challenging the accuracy. Or a conviction shows up that just isn't accurate. It's not on their actual record. Then they are given an additional 5 business days for a total of 10 business days from the time that they have received the letter of intent to rescind the conditional job offer to challenge the accuracy. That additional 5 days is only for accuracy challenges. If they're just going to give evidence of mitigating circumstances like rehabilitation or letters that refer to their character from trusted community members and partners, certifications they may have earned through their time since the conviction, then the original 5 business days is all that you must offer. So we can go to the next slide. And here's some examples of things that they may provide. I just referenced a few, but character references, training or school programs, counseling, compliance with the terms of their probation or parole, personal accomplishments that they may have completed while incarcerated, or facts that show the conduct was less serious than the conviction may seem. That point is, there's a lot in that point, because on a background check, you're just going to get a few pages or a page that just says convicted on a date of a particular crime. But of course, for many, there's a larger narrative around that, and that's some evidence that they may provide to request that you reconsider your decision to rescind the conditional job offer. And you can see other examples here. The time that's passed, again, that's in that nature estimation. The length and the consistency of their employment history and community involvement, and then evidence of similar work. Perhaps they've actually held a similar position since then that they can say this did not present a problem there. I don't believe it'll present a problem here. And we can move to the next slide. So reassessment, the employer must consider all the information that the candidate submits in response, and then they can present a final notification after they've considered all that information. Again, this final notification must be in writing. And the procedure the applicant has to challenge the disqualification must be in that notification. So I'll point to details of that a little later in the presentation. And they have to also tell the candidate of their rights to file a complaint with the Department of Fair Housing and Employment. And that's, again, in the California State Fair Chance Act. And we can go to the next slide. Now we're going to get into the county ordinance. So on March 12th of this year, the County Board of Supervisors requested that our office draft a local fair chance ordinance that would complement this State Fair Chance Act. And in September, they adopted and passed our local fair chance ordinance. The county takes a 30-day cooling period. So on October 10th of this year, that actually went into effect. We can go on to the next slide. And this is what the local fair chance ordinance does. It is an education enforcement program that provides employers with education and training on the fair chance ordinance hiring process to support compliance. And I'll show you a bunch of resources that I created to help with that. Streamlined reporting process for victims who feel they were discriminated against. Essentially what that means is that folks who feel that their rights have been violated under this ordinance can come directly to our office to file complaints and not have to wait to get through the state bureaucracy. And authority to issue administrative penalties. And I know, of course, this is the big, scary one. As Jimena mentioned before I started, penalties will not start until after July 1st of 2025. And I'll go into how they will look a little bit later. So we can go to the next slide. Employers will be required to perform a written individualized assessment of the applicant's conviction history, just like in the State Fair Chance Act. The only addition in our local ordinance is that you must keep that on file for 1 year. That is actually to protect you as much as the worker, because if a worker comes to our office and complains that their rights were violated under this ordinance, and our enforcement folks come to do their investigation to the employer, whether that be you or another colleague, if you don't have the individualized assessment, you've already violated the Fair Chance Ordinance. But if you do have it, it's evidence that you can present saying we did follow the process, right? So that works in your favor. Also, if you intend to retract a job offer after a conditional offer is made, the applicant has 5 business days. But and this is new for our ordinance. Nothing changes about the timing, the 5 and 5, but during the 5-day review period, the position must remain unfilled. So you can't go into this process with the intention of rescinding a job offer, no matter what evidence the worker provides, and go ahead and hire someone else to fill that role. You must, in good faith, keep the position open, unless in emergency circumstances. My favorite example to use for emergency circumstances is if you are hiring lifeguards for 4th of July weekend and it's July 2nd, you can't wait and leave that role unfilled because of it's public safety. So that would be an example of an emergent circumstance where we would accept that as reason to not keep the job open. We can go to the next slide, please. So who does this apply to? It's businesses with 5 or more employees that are located or that do business in the unincorporated areas of the county, or if a worker's primary job location must average 2 hours of work a week within the unincorporated area. So if you have workers, if you're based in one of the incorporated cities, but you have workers that do work in any of those tan or yellowish areas for 2 hours a week on average, this applies to you. My suggestion just for best practice would be just follow it anyway out of abundancy of caution. You can see that there are over 14,000 businesses that this would apply to in the unincorporated area. And we can go to the next slide, please. So what did I make for y'all? This is a hiring toolkit. You can see a giant version of it behind me. It includes all kinds of documents and templates that are manipulatable for your purposes. And we can go to the next slide. So here's essentially a table of contents, but this is the pack that is available on our website to download as Word documents now. We're in the process of turning them into editable PDFs as well, if that's your preferred format, but this is what's inside. We have an advertisement of job openings. This is basically a compliance statement that you can put on any job posting that you list on LinkedIn or any of the job sites. That language would protect you against violating this ordinance. Conditional job offer letter language, an individualized assessment template, a preliminary job offer revocation sample letter, an individualized reassessment template, and then the final revocation notice. So if we go to the next slide, I can show you kind of a little bit about what they look like. In that small word bubble at the bottom of this page is language that you can cut and paste and put on any job posting. And this will make any of our enforcement investigators very happy when they see this. But at the end of the day, this just protects you from accidentally violating an applicant's rights. And we can go to the next slide. The conditional job offer. I wouldn't download these from these cute slides because there's all kinds of other imagery on them. I suggest going to our website and just downloading simply the Word document. And if you do that, the only thing you'll need to change are the highlighted portions. So everything else in there, I mean, I suggest reading it and ensuring that it actually is coherent to the position being offered and your work. But as far as legal compliance, this does the trick. And we can go to the next slide. Next is a written individualized assessment. As you can see, it's 1 page. Does not take long to fill out, but it should take long for you if you're doing this in good faith and you're following the law in good faith and you're trying to be a good employer who takes good care of their workforce, even potential workers. The time should be spent in consideration of whether or not what you've discovered in the criminal history report is actually relevant to the job being offered. But once you've done that, the assessment is very quick. Again, now here's the sample employer notice of a preliminary decision to revoke the offer. Let's say you've decided, you know what, it is too close. You know, we're hiring delivery drivers. This person has multiple vehicular convictions. So this, unfortunately, is a little longer. It's 3 pages, but again, I've highlighted the portions that you would need to edit, and they are few. And we can go to the next slide. This is a reassessment. As you would imagine, it looks very much like the assessment in the first place. But there are a couple little changes on here where the point is that you will reconsider your assessment based on evidence provided by the applicant. So that you would fill that out, you would give them the written version, you would keep it on file for at least 1 year. I suggest not throwing it away unless you have some really burning reason to do so. Next slide. And this is a final revocation notice, essentially saying, thank you for the evidence. We've reconsidered, and unfortunately, we still think our initial decision to rescind our job offer is final. And again, the highlighted portions are the only part that you would need to edit. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is the slide that we share on every single one of our presentations, whether it's to employers or workers or community members, essentially anyone. This is where you can submit an inquiry, meaning a question for me or any of my colleagues, or a complaint to us as the enforcement arm for wage theft in the region. And you can see that we have a big button in the middle of our website there. Click here to file a complaint or ask an employment law question. Now, I just want to make sure I say this clearly. I am not a lawyer, and we do not give legal advice, official legal advice, but we can give guidance on how to follow labor standards broadly. So that's our website, and then we can go to the final slide. And here's our contact information directly. So you can see Business Outreach Manager, that's me. Yes, my email address is Michael, but everybody calls me Mikey. Please be one of those people. Unless Mom, you're on here, you can call me Michael. And then our Community Engagement Manager, who focuses more on workers and the community broadly, is Stephanie, and that's her email address and phone number there. So I'll stop here and take any questions you may have.
All right, thank you so much, Michael. This was all very great updates. There's definitely been plenty of development since we last heard from Stephanie, actually. We do have a comment in the chat. Will our viewers be able to receive an email containing this presentation? I can do that willfully, but if you give us the go, I'd like to share that with our viewers.
Please share far and wide.
Awesome, thank you. And I have a particular question regarding in the case that an employer intends to retract the job offer during that 5-day review period. And I know you mentioned that the position must remain unfilled unless an emergency occurs. What about promotion of the role via job employer websites? In order to, I don't know, maybe by day 3, the review is done, but what about promotion of the opening?
Sorry, I'm not certain I clearly understand the question. So during the 5-day period, if the review is complete before 5 days, is the question whether they can fill the role?
The question is whether can the role continue to be promoted on, I don't know, online databases?
Oh yeah, yes, you can keep the job posting open. You just can't make a hire. You can't make an actual hire until the 5 business days are up.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. I don't know if we have any. Yeah.
Kenya has asked for my contact information again, and I put my email in there, but I don't remember my work phone number off the top of my head, so I'm going to put that in there too. When you work for the government, they give you an extra phone. There we go.
Perfect. We've also put that slide very quickly up there. All right. Thank you so much, Mikey. This was really useful information. I know we'll keep in touch as well. This is an ongoing initiative. So thank you so much for the work that you do. I know that you are also participating in other outreach initiatives. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned in the beginning, this role, Business Outreach Manager for an Office of Labor Standards, is, I don't know if it's unique in the country, but it's very rare. But our Board of Supervisors and our Director of this office, Brendan Butler, have prioritized ensuring that we speak often and consistently, transparently, openly, and in a participatory way with the business community. So they hired a business guy, that's me. So I would love to be the warm and cuddly conduit between you all and our office to ensure that you're protected. Small businesses in particular are at great risk of putting themselves in a precarious position by accidentally violating the law. So the best tonic for that is understanding the law, knowing how to protect yourself, and that's my goal. That is my 100% of my role here. I should also mention him, and I failed to talk about the penalties, which won't start until July of next year. But the first violation, if an employer is found in violation of this ordinance, is a $5,000 penalty. The second one is is 10, and the third one is up to 20. They're all up to this amount. But half of the money collected for those penalties will go to the impacted worker violated. So I just wanted to let everyone understand it's not an empty threat. There is an enforcement element to it, a penalty that comes with it starting in July. So again, please do share this information with your entire community as much and as often as possible.
Thank you so much, Mikey. All right, we'll give a little bit more of your morning back. Thanks again, and we'll be in touch as well, as I just said. But unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, John from the National Federation of Independent Businesses was unable to join us this morning. He was aiming to provide an overview of federal legislation impacting small businesses across the country, but we will make sure to reconnect with him early next year, just as we prepare for the rest of 2025. But that's all that we have for you today, folks. I also wanted to let you know, remind you that we have our International Tribute Awards on December 11th, where we will be honoring outstanding individuals and organizations who have substantially contributed to our region's international relations and global competitiveness, of course. This year's honorees are Jewish Family Services, who will be receiving the Cross-Border Hero Award. Salvador Lopez, the Chief Environmental Officer from the North American Development Bank, will be receiving the honor as International Leader of the Year. And for International Organization of the Year, the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance will be receiving this award as well, who will actually probably have some cool surprises for all of those attending. So again, thank you all to all of our speakers for their valuable insights and ongoing work to support our regional business community. I'll be posting a link on the chat about this great event happening early next month. But we'll see each other again in one of our workshops early next year, and please stay tuned for further information and details on what to expect. Thank you all.